Hey guys, so today I'm going to talk about how to find or how to locate XPath for a specific element in HTML, and this XPath is something which is a very useful tool in automation, at least, and not only automation. In a lot of UI technologies, XPath is being used to manipulate the element. So XPath is nothing but a path of a location inside an HTML, right? And in automation, its use case is because in automation you have to perform an operation on an element, isn't it? And to do that, you need to find a way to locate that element. So once you find the element, then you will be able to do some operation on it. So first and foremost, you need to find the element. So in order to find the element, you have multiple ways available in Selenium. So you have identify it by ID, identify it by its CSS, identify it by name, right? So there are multiple ways, and one of out of those ways, there is one more way called as XPath locator, right? So XPath is a, as you can get from the name itself, it's like locating the element by its path. Now, what do you mean by a path? So that is what I'm trying to explain here. So when you see an element, or in a UI, in a GUI, in a GUI, when you see an element, it's just a graphical representation of it. Underlying, there is a code behind it. So underlying, there is a representation, an HTML representation, which dictates how it's going to look inside the browser, right? So now, for you to be able to automate that page, for you to be able to find that locator using Selenium, you need to understand its HTML structure first, right? Or HTML, by HTML structure, what I mean to say is you need to understand what that element is, what type of element that is, what are its properties, characteristics, or you can say attributes, and what is the location of it, right? So by this small tree diagram, I'm trying to explain it. So the HTML document which you see when you do a right click and inspect, what you see is can be denoted into a tree structure. So this is a tree diagram, small tree diagram I have I drew here in this whiteboard, and by this I'll try to explain how and what are the aspects of that element. So for example, there's an element, and let's say this is a div element. So this div becomes, it's called as tag. This ID, class, right? These are its attributes, and these are its values. So you can understand it as in a form of an object. Okay, so object has properties, right? It has some specific properties. So you can understand it this way, that this object which you see here has ID and class as its property names or attribute names, and these are its attribute value. So this is an element D, its tag is div, its attribute name is ID, class, and it can have many more attributes. I have only mentioned 2, but it could have many more, and its attribute values, and these values actually uniquely identifies this element. And in automation, we have this prerequisite that before we perform any operation on a specific element, and by operation I mean click, set, right? So before you even try to do that, you need to find where you would like to do, right? So for that purpose, you need to uniquely identify the element, right? And these attributes which you see here help you in uniquely identifying it. For example, XYZ, that I'm trying to find an element whose tag is div and whose attribute ID has a value XYZ. Now, maybe this is unique, this is not unique, that's something we'll discuss later. But these are the attribute values by which you can find it. And what you see inside after the first tag is closed, you see my div. This is called as text, right? So these are attributes, these are text. If you know a little bit about Selenium already, then you will know that there are a few methods available in find elements, that is get text and get attributes. When you say get text, you actually get my div. When you do a get attribute and you mention the ID or class, then you get the attribute value, right? So you need to be very sure what exact value you want to fetch from the element, right? So now for this video, we are going to talk about how to determine the XPath, right? Now XPath really starts, so there are basically 2 types here, 2 ways you can write it. One is absolute XPath, second is relative XPath. When we talk about absolute XPath, it actually starts from HTML tag, right? So if you really know how an HTML structure. So topmost tag is the parent tag of all the tags available in HTML is HTML itself, right? Then inside that we have a body, and inside body we have all the other tags, right? So if you want to start from there, then when we talk about absolute XPath, then you have to start from there, right? So you write HTML slash. So let's try to figure out. Let's say maybe I'll just draw another thing here. So let's say this is HTML, this is a body. So I'm indicating this is an HTML tag. Okay, and let's say this is a body. And inside that, let's assume that we have this div, right? So now there are two ways to locate this div, right? Either I can do HTML slash body slash t. So I'll try to write the XPath here itself, okay? So I'll say there are two ways to do it. One is absolute XPath. So right now I'm trying to write absolute XPath for the first div element. So absolute XPath would look something like this: HTML slash body slash d, right? This will be an absolute XPath. Now, sometimes you need it, sometimes you shouldn't be even using it. Why? Because if you always use absolute XPath and a developer changes something in the HTML, right, then your XPath becomes waste. Why? For example, developer, so this time let's say your script works, everything is working fine, and next time, the next deployment, let's say developer chose to add another div in between here. So after body you will have another div here. So your XPath will fail, because every time you try to run this script, it will not give you this div which you actually need. It will give you a div above it, because then this HTML body -d will give you the div which is being inserted by the developer at this position, right? And that would be the wrong div which you need, right? So absolute XPath in this case will be a problem. Absolute XPath is always a problem. So you should, in every time I don't see a very good time when you can use it. So you should always avoid it. Now, what do we mean by relative XPath? Relative XPath is something that if you are able to locate a specific element using it based on its IDs, classes, or attributes, why do you need to go all the way from the top to the bottom, right? So if I just try to simplify what I just said, if I want to find an XPath for this, so why would I need to go from HTML slash body and slash t? Because I see that this particular element already has an ID and already has a class, and I'm assuming these are unique classes and unique ID for available in the whole HTML, right? So instead of doing absolute XPath, I can simply write here like this. So I can simply write double slash. I'll tell you what double slash is. Then the name of the tag, which is a div, then bracket open, and inside that I will have to write @ID. @ID means that I am trying to point to a attribute is equal to its value, that into quotes. I can do this, or if class is unique, then I can do ID @class is equal to bracket, quote ABCD, or I could also do this div @ID is equal to XYZ, and let's say I want to have a combination of both of these. So I can say and class, again @class, because remember you use only when you want to point to a or refer to a attribute name. So @class is equal to ABCD, right? So all these three relative XPaths can work here. Now I'll tell you what are the things which I just wrote here. So when you see this double slash, this double slash means relative. That means find anywhere in the document. That's what it means, right? When you use a single slash, it means immediate. So when I say HTML slash body, that means body is an immediate child of HTML tag, or D is an immediate child of body. But by double slash, I'm saying find anywhere in the document where we have a tag element which has a tag called as div, and this is called as the predicate section, that is the conditional section. Here you need to put the condition. So again, I'll just say it again. So this is double slash means find it anywhere. Div, the name of the tag, then the predicate section, that is the condition section. Inside this, I'm writing @id because attribute name has to be referred as @. After that, you need to write the attribute value, sorry, attribute name equal to the value of it. So what it will do when you do this, and when you actually evaluate this XPath, what will happen? The evaluator, XPath evaluator, will try to locate anywhere, because double slash is used, so I'm saying anywhere, an element whose name, whose tag is div, and whose ID is XYZ, and whose class is ABCD. And if such an element is found, then return it as a locator. That's what, that's how basically this XPath evaluator works. So when you say find elements by .xpath and you pass this XPath, that's what actually happens behind the scene, right? So it tries to find the element based on these values, based on its attributes as well as tag name, right? Now let's go dig deeper into this. Let's try to find an XPath for this third element here, right? So if I write an XPath for this, let's try to write it. So I will say, so again, two ways to do it. Let's try to write absolute XPath for this first. Absolute XPath would look like, so if I have to start with HTML, right? Write HTML slash body slash then div, right? Then after that, we have one more div. So I'll write slash one more div. Then after this div, I have actually three divs here at the same level. So levels are also very important, and levels, to handle levels, we have a feature in XPath called as indexes. So you can give indexes to find out which exact div you want to go, right? So all these three, D, all these all are child of one parent. D, this D, they are all our child, right? And I have reached actually to this point, to the parent here. Now I have to reach here, right? So I have three ways to do it. Rather, in this absolute case, I have one way only. So I'll write div, then the predicate section, as predicate section is used to provide conditions and as well as indexes. So I can put index as 3. So if I say index as 3, it will give me this XPath of this. If I say index of 2, it will give me this. If I say index of 1, it will give me this. Right now I want to go here, so I will just simply say div 3, right? Now this is an absolute XPath. Now if I try to write a relative XPath for this, how will I write it? As I already said, relative XPath is basically used to avoid writing the parent structure, right? Now really in this case, I don't have to write the whole HTML body div 3. Why? Because I already have a property called as ID234, which in this case, I'm assuming it's unique. If it is not unique, maybe then you have to do some more things. Maybe you have to first find the parent of it, and then you will be able to find. But in this case, ID is 234. So what I'll do, I'll simply write double slash, that is find it anywhere. Name of the tag, which is a div, bracket open, square bracket open, which is to specify the condition or predicate section. Then I'll write @ID, because if I want to refer to an attribute, I have to append @ in front of it, equal to single quote 234, right? And that is it. So this really looks small, succinct, and better compared to this, right? Now again, the same problem will appear here. If developer chooses to change anything in between, some more divs to be added at the top, then this will fail. But this will still not fail, because this doesn't matter to this XPath what you add at the top, until and unless the property of this div remains the same, right? It will all be fine. It will still be able to find it out, right? Now let's try to, before we jump onto the actual application, let me try to write another XPath maybe for this link, right? This link. Now, if I want to do that, what I'll do, I'll again do the same mechanism, right? Just to give an example. So I'll write a text here. Let me write an absolute XPath here. Absolute XPath for this would be HTML body, come on, body, then div, then div 2, right? Then another div, then we have div and s, and I need to go to s here represents span, so I'll write span and then a. Now this will be my absolute XPath. right? Now, what will be its relative XPath? Relative XPath. Now here comes a small problem. The small problem is in whole of this, I have only two specific elements whose IDs are present. So I have this whose ID and class is present, and then I have another one which is div ID 234T1 whose ID is present, right? Now I am forced to use this div2 here because I have no other option, because the IDs and classes for this index2 div is not present. So I have to use div2 here, right? Then here also nothing is present, here also nothing is present. So I'm just using the absolute XPath. If I want to use a relative XPath of some sort, I can ignore HTML and body. I can say, okay, I will say /div whose ID is XYZ. So I'm actually referring this, right? And then all the way down, I will have to again write exact statement. So div2, then div, and then span, and then a, right? Now this could be one of my XPath. Now to simplify it further, I am trying to introduce another way of writing it. I know I'm going in a bit hasty way, but it's important that I explain this right away. So this is something called as XPath accesses, right? What are XPath accesses? XPath accesses are used to locate the element with respect to another element. So it's a you can understand it in a respective way, right? So let's say I am present and I want to locate another element which is somewhere, right? You can locate me, and based on my position, you can locate his position, because if he's sitting adjacent to me, you can easily locate it, right? So this is called as relative finding or with respect to finding of the elements. So for example, in this case, I am dead sure that I am able to find this particular element called as div ID 234. So how about I locate its sibling based on this ID? So I will say, I know this ID, I know index 3 div ID 234, but I want to locate an element which is a sibling, right? Because this is sibling, this is a parent, these all three are child. So I want to locate an element who is a sibling of me, and then I can go just down the line. So I can even ignore this, right? Now how to write it, I'm not expecting you to understand fully as of now, because I have to actually explain that in the Chrome inspect window, but I'll just try my best to do it right away. So just to introduce the concept, then I'll explain it more. So if I want to do this using XPath access, what I'll do, I'll say /div @ID is equal to 234. So this will give me this specific element, right? Then what I'll do, I'll write a slash, and then I'll write a phrase. The phrase would be preceding sibling, right? So the moment I do, I think I made a spelling mistake, preceding sibling, right? Now preceding sibling actually means I want to get a sibling of it which is a preceding, like which is coming before me, which is this element, right? So there are different accesses available, accesses, functions, methods available called as preceding sibling, following sibling. Like if I have to find another element which is after this, then I would have used following sibling, and then I have to apply two double colons, and then I have to mention the same structure. So I have to mention what that sibling is, right? So I need to mention this is that sibling is of type div. So the moment I do this, it will give me this index 2. So I am not relying on any 2, 3, 4, 5 index, right? I'm simply saying I want to have a element which is just preceding me, which is the preceding sibling, and then I can start writing my further div, span, and a, right? And if I would have access to this, let's say the ID of this is also present, then I would have used something else as well, right? There are many combinations possible, and XPath is actually a very, very powerful tool for you to be able to locate the element in Selenium. If you're not able to find it using IDs, classes, because in some cases these are not present at all, because developer doesn't need to use it at all the time. It's not something which he has to do. It is the automation tester who has to find a way to locate the element. And XPath gives great power in automation tester's hand to find the element precisely, right? So now let me switch back to the actual, 1 minute, the actual HTML page, so that I can explain something in more details. Right, so now let's say this is the application which we are trying to automate, right? So let me try to explain the same thing which I explained in the whiteboard before. So let's say I want to find the element, sorry, the XPath for this. If I do a right click, inspect, I'll get this. Now the XPath for this will be, if I want to write an absolute XPath, it would be like a very painful thing to do here, because I have to trace it all the way down. So everything starts from HTML, then I have to go to body, then I have to say this is div, right? Then we have many elements here, the word out of scripts. Then we have another header. Inside this we have a div. Then we have div, like div 1 2 1 2. Many combinations I would have to do. So I would rather not do that, because I think you understood the concept. So simply what I'll do is I will just start from relative XPath. So I will do a control find, / means find it anywhere, or a tag called as input. This is the predicate section. In the predicate section, I will say @ and what I want is this, right? So it's ID. It has many attributes. So type is an attribute name, ID is an attribute name, value is an attribute name, name is an attribute name, autocomplete is an attribute names. These all are attribute names, and these are its corresponding values. Okay. Now don't confuse value with name. Value is a separate attribute which has no value, right? So if I want to find it using a name, I will not write something like this, value name. So don't do that, because these value and name are not connected. A value is an attribute whose value is not present, right? Now let's say I want to find it using value name. Sorry, I want to find it using name. I would have written @name is equal to, and it's always better to copy paste instead of typing it out. Single quote. Remember, it has to be single quote. However, in few cases it also works double quotes, but avoid it, because in Java double quotes is a problem. You have to escape it. So it's always better to use single quotes here, right? So it's able to find it. Now, if I want to find it using type as well as an ID, I could have written here and ID. Sorry, ID is @ID is equal to this. Right? I could have also done and type is equal to text. Sorry, the type spelling is type, and it has to be an @, right? So this is how basically you can write an XPath in a very, very simplistic way. If the element has all the attributes and they are unique, in this case it's unique. That's why it is able to find only one of one. You see, one of one. Right? I can also give an example. So let's say I'm only finding @type. I'm getting 3, 1 of 3. Second is somewhere else, third is somewhere else. That means there are 3 input elements as input elements in the whole document whose type is text. So it is giving me 3. This actually we use with the find elements, where we are expecting multiple elements of the similar description, properties description, right? But it's always better to find a unique element. So that's what I'm trying to do here. Now, other than that, if I try to explain, let's say, maybe the same example. So let me just try to give the same example. So input @type is equal to text. Right? Now the problem is I'm getting 3 such text box, and I am not interested in these many. Right? So what I have to do to uniquely identify it, you would say, okay, why not use an ID? So like right now, let's just assume that ID and name, these are not present. So just assume that these are not present. So if these are not present, only the type is equal to text is present. This will not give you the precise location of this element. So this will become, you will not be able to use it. So to do that, if some element is present, you want to perform an operation on that element and you are not able to locate it precisely, what you have to do is you have to look around. When I say look around, you have to find what's at the top, what's at the, in the left, what at the right, what at the bottom, right? Because as I said, you can find an element based on its parent, its sibling, right? And its preceding sibling, its following sibling. So based on these relative locations, you can also locate that element. In this case, I might be able to use the parent of it, right? Because this is available inside this this is present inside div, and which has a class as nav search field. So what I can do, I can first locate this element. So I will write find a div whose class is nav search field, right? And under which we have a tag called as input whose type is text. So this time I'm getting 1 of 1, right? So this is another way of by which you can find it. So the theory is very, very simple. Try to see if the element you have has unique elements, unique IDs, unique class, right? If it has, or a combination of these two, right? So if it has these things, then you can directly write / name of the tag and its attributes. In case you couldn't find it, then what you have to do, you have to look at the top. Top means parent. You have to see, where do I have a parent or a grandparent or a grandparent. Now this is a parent, this is a grandparent, these are the grandparents. So you have to look for, do I have anything in the hierarchy which can give me uniqueness, right? In this case, I could have find that uniqueness. I found that uniqueness in the parent itself. But if if you're not able to find it in the parent itself, you have to go to the top, right? Till you find the parent itself, till you find a grandparent or grandparent which is unique, right? That can be one of the strategy. Now let's say that is also not possible. So then you have to start looking to the left and right. When I say left and right, that is what I'm trying to say is the siblings, right? Or the siblings of the parents, or the siblings of the grandparents, right? So there are different combinations available to it. So this is a parent, this is a grandparent, then this is a you can say sibling of a grandparent. This is your grandparent and this is a sibling of it, because they are at the same level. You see, they are at the same level. So it was your grandparent, because this is your parent, this is, let's say, your element, this is your sibling. By the way, label ID is your sibling. This is your parent, this is your grandparent, this is your grandparent sibling. So you can look for such uniqueness anywhere, and just if you're able to find that uniqueness anywhere in the adjacence of your element, you can actually find that out first, and then from there you can navigate to the corresponding element which you actually need. So if I try to give an example, so let's say this parent was not present and this parent also doesn't have a class. So now I will try to use the XPath access in this case. So now let's say this is not even there. So what I can do, and I am able to get 1 of 3. Now I have a problem. So what I can do, okay, do I have something in the sibling which could let me find this element uniquely, right? I will say, okay, we have a sibling as label and this sibling is before it. So I will say preceding sibling, which has an ID nav search label. And this, I somehow think that this is unique. I can also find it something unique or not from just searching for it in the whole text. I'll say, okay, this is a label as ID, right? So, okay, this is also not unique, it seems, because I can find 2 such fields. One is this, second is this, but I can also see 2 such text box, class as okay off screen, and this label is in the section class. This is in the span. So I think this is unique because this class is coming as in the span and this is coming in the label, and I am interested in anything with the label as ID nav search label. So I think this is unique. So now what I can do is I will first try to locate this, and then based on this I will try to locate this. So let me do that first. What I'll do, I'll say label, because again I'm using relative XPath. So I'll say / find anywhere with the tag as label square bracket, then @ ID is equal to nav search label. Let's see if this is unique. So yes, this is unique, 1 of 1. Then I will say, and I want to find this. I'm not interested in this. I'm interested in this because this is the sibling of it. So I'll say, okay, slash following hyphen sibling, double quote, sorry, 2 colons, and then the exact description of it. So I am interested in anything with the tag as input, which is, I don't have to mention that ID as well. It is able to find that. So it will able to find this first, and after that it will say following sibling, anything which is following and it's a sibling of me with the tag as input. I can also mention that, you know, in the predicate section, I can also mention its type. So I can say type text. Even though if I don't mention it, then also it will be able to find it because there is only one sibling to it and whose tag is input, right? So it is able to find it, right? So there are multiple combinations. I will also tell you maybe what are XPath access methods available. XPath access methods. So you see there are many such available XPath access methods which you can use. So ancestor, self, attribute, child, descendant, self, following sibling. I actually use in this case following sibling. Previously in the whiteboard I used preceding sibling, preceding parent, right? Now when you say simply preceding, it will try to give you all the siblings, and then from out of those siblings you can use index to locate which sibling you want to go. This gives immediate sibling, right? So there are multiple ways basically available in XPath to find an element based on its relative position. Okay. Now the best way to practice it, I know it's not very simple to do or understand. You will be able to understand it, but when it comes to implement it, you might find it tricky in the beginning. But if you understand the concept to the core, it is not that difficult. It's very simple, because all you have to do is understand the structure. You don't have to even understand the whole HTML, how HTML works. It's not something which you need to do. All you need to understand, these are divs, and this can be understood as a tree structure. And in a tree structure, in the previous example, the previous whiteboard which I explained, HTML can be represented in a tree structure. In the tree structure, you have a parent, you have a grandparent, you have a grandparent, you have a sibling, you have a child, you have a child of child, right? So all that structure is already there, and based on that, you can easily navigate your XPaths for a specific element which you need, right? Now how will you practice it? So best way to do it is don't do it in an easy way. So even if you able to find something here, like the ID was already present, try to make it complicated. So in this case, let's say you want to do something with this element. So don't just write input ID to tab search text box. That really would be easy to do, but then you will not able to understand XPath access. And XPath access is a very powerful tool and important thing to learn, because you will never get an application which is very straightforward and IDs and classes are already very lucidly maintained and mentioned, and you can just directly use them. In many cases, it's very difficult to do, and you will not get easy IDs available in the HTML, and then things are become very difficult for you to survive there. So XPath access learning is very important, and that's how you're going to learn. Don't try to just make it easy. Try to twist it. For example, I twisted it like this. Now the same XPath I can try to do it from here. So for example, I can say I will find this XPath based on this, right? So what I'll do, I'll go here first, identify this, then I'll go to its parent, then I'll go to its parent, then from here I will go to its sibling, then sibling's child, and then I will be able to come here. So these kind of things you can try to learn it. All I'm telling you this, how you will actually practice and learn it. It's very easy. You just don't directly, find it. You go somewhere else, and from there you navigate your, wave to from here to a specific element, right? Maybe I'll try to give a last example. Let's try to navigate here from here, right? So if I do that, let me do that. So what I'll do, I will write a double slash. I will write a span because I need to find, come on. So I will need to go from this, from here, I want to come here. So I'll write this. So this will be my span whose ID is equal to this. So I am here now, right? Now I am here and I want to go from here and I want to find this text box. Why am I doing this? I'm just I'll again summarize. I'll again say it again. I'm doing this to twist it. However, I don't need to do it in this case. Why? Because I already have an ID here. So why I'm doing this? To twist it so that I could learn XPath accesses. What if the situation is that these IDs and these IDs and these IDs and these IDs are not present? Only this is available. So based on that, I need to first find this, and from here I will need to navigate to my actual element on which I will need to perform an operation. So this is why I'm trying to do this. So let me write it. So first I have to find out the thing which I actually can find. So I'm getting it 1 of 1. Then to go from here to here, I need to actually traverse. So I need to first, I'm here, I need to go its parent. Now from its parent, I cannot just directly jump here because this is outside, right? So I have to jump to this parent as well. Once I reach to this parent, then I will say, okay, I'll go to its sibling, following sibling. And then inside this, I'll go into the child of this and then the child of this, right? So let's do it. I'll say, now let me show you this first. What do you think we should be using here? We can use here ancestor, right? We can use parent, right? Now parent selects the parent of the current node. So I can use parent or I can also use ancestor, right? So what I'll do is, let me go back here. So here, this is span. I need to go here. I need to go here. So if I do a parent, I will come here. And then again, I'll do parent. I will come here. So let me just show you that first. I will do a parent, a div, right? So I have reached here. So it is also highlighting with me. Then I will say parent. Then I will say simply parent and div. It has reached here, right? So now it is a two-way activity I have to do. What if I can just directly do something like this? I can say ancestor div. It is giving me a lot of ancestor because it is giving me all the ancestor, which is, all the ancestors of this. So we have 7 ancestors for this ID, this particular element, but I am interested in only one type of ancestor. So I can actually mention it here. So I can say, I am interested in ancestor whose tag is div and class is navfill. So now it is giving me, is it giving me right ancestor? 1 minute. Where is my span here? Something is not right. Let me see. 1 minute. No, so it was supposed to be nav right, not navfill. So I am interested in parent whose class is nav right. So I'm actually here. So previously we did parent, then again parent. So instead of doing that, I could have directly do. I did here directly ancestor. So there's a difference between parent and ancestor. Parent is immediate parent. Ancestor it will give everything unless you give a condition here. So in this case, I gave a condition here. So right now I am here. Now from here, I actually want to go to the input, right? Now this is its sibling is this, and this is its following sibling that's coming after this, right? So what I'll do, I will write here following sibling, double quotes, and I'll say a div. Now it is giving me, since it has only one sibling, it is giving me 1 of 1. So it has come here. And now, I can easily from here, I can easily navigate to its child. So I can say div and then input. So I can say div and I can say input. So you see, I've reached here. So you must have some understanding. I think now I tried to explain it as best of my capability to explain you how can you navigate from one element. So based on one element, how can you identify an element whose property is not present using ancestors, following sibling, preceding sibling. Based on that, I can easily. So I actually made use of this element, which is span this element. From this element, I actually came all the way down to this element, and you can do these kind of things everywhere in an HTML, anywhere. You can navigate from one place or one element to another element very easily. Okay, so again, I'll just summarize. Before you try to write an XPath, it's always first you learn to write XPath in a very simple way, because if you're doing it for the first time, I'm not advising you should start with this, right? So first try to write your basic simple XPath, but once you reach a state, or if you are getting good understanding of it, then start twisting things. So don't just write XPath directly, go somewhere which is unique, and from there try to navigate to it. So this is something to be practiced about. Practice it hard. All you need to do is do it 2 or 3 days continuously, and you will kind of master the XPaths. Thank you.